The night exploded with the crash of metal as a goat named Buck rammed the mailbox off its post, sending it skidding across the frozen dirt. A red envelope, freed from the wreckage, spun through the air like a warning flare and landed at Eli Mason's boots. At 84, Eli was a man forged from hardship hands that had carved a farm from wilderness, eyes that had seen war and loss. He tore open the letter, his fingers trembling not with age, but with a rage that could have burned the stars. He read aloud, his voice gravel and thunder. You are hereby notified that your presence on this land violates the Cedar Grove HOA residential code. He spat into the dirt and growled. I've fought bigger snakes than this, and I'll bury their poison too. I just rolled up the gravel drive, my truck's headlights slicing the dark, when I saw him standing there, clutching the letter like it was a live wire. My father, Eli Mason, was a legend in Cedar Grove, a man who'd built the town's first clinic with his own hands, who'd fed neighbors during hard winters, who'd lost my mother and still rose at dawn to tend his land. I'd never seen him shaken, not by drought or debt, but this paper had cracked his iron will. I stepped out, the air sharp with pine and frost, and asked, "What's wrong, Dad?" He shoved the letter at me, his calloused finger stabbing the words. HOA, he snarled. They say I'm squatting on my own damn farm. I read it twice, each line a gut punch. The Cedar Grove Homeowners Association, a gated community that had sprouted a decade ago on old pasture, claimed Eli's 120 acres as theirs. An updated community map had swallowed his land, a legal theft wrapped in jargon. Before I could speak, tires screeched on gravel. A golf cart roared up, kicking dust like a charging bull. Out stepped a woman who looked like she'd been molded from liege blonde hair in a tight bun, sunglasses perched like a crown, a pastel suit screaming authority. Her badge read, Miranda Holt, HOA President. She marched forward, clipboard in hand, her smile as fake as a used car salesman's. Mr. Mason, she said, voice syrupy with condescension, I'm here to deliver your notice. We're offering a relocation package to vacate peacefully. Your farm doesn't fit our Siona Community Center is planned here. I stared, stunned, as she spoke like she was handing us a gift instead of guillotine. Eli didn't blink. He looked at her, then the ground, and spat tobacco that landed near her polished shoes. Miranda flinched, clutching her clipboard. That's assault, she snapped. Your fence is violate Section 10 uniform standards. I stepped up, pulse pounding. This isn't your suburb, lady. This is a farm. That man built the town you're trying to erase. She smirked. Maps change, Mr. Mason. Your father has no claim if the county says otherwise. He's old, probably forgot signing the rezoning. I remember more than you'll ever learn, girl. I was working this dirt before your fake fountains were a blueprint. Miranda's smile vanished. She pointed at the wrecked mailbox. That's HOA property. You'll pay for it. She stormed back to her cart, clipboard bouncing, and sped off, Leah vying dust and venom behind. I turned to Eli. Lawyer. He shook his head, eyes glinting. You don't fight rats with suits. You bait a trap and watch 'em scurry. Sleep eluded me. I walked the farm's edges, flashlight tracing fences Miranda claimed weren't ours. Every post held a memory hauling lumber as a kid, my hands raw, rebuilding the barn after a storm, Eli's voice steady through the rain. This land was blood and bone. In town, Eli was a quiet hero, his deeds donating land for the school. SAVY in the firehouse tucked away in faded photos. At 10, he'd told me, legacy ain't what they say at your funeral. It's what grows after you're gone. Miranda didn't know her enemy. She thought she could bully an old man with fines and smugness, but Eli was Cedar Grove's roots, the man who'd cleared fields, fed families, stood against banks. She'd regret crossing him. Morning brought a knock. A man in a crisp polo, camera around his neck, stood at the door. Greg, code enforcement, he said, rattling off violations. Barn unsafe, fences non-compliant, goats a nuisance. I asked how a farm could be a nuisance for existing. He shrugged. Just doing my job. Eli leaned in the doorway, silent, eyes like storm clouds. Greg snapped photos barn, trough, even the compost. Eli spoke, voice low. Get a shot of the sunflowers? They break your rules too. Greg mumbled about codes and left. We sat on the porch, coffee bitter in our mugs. I drove to the county office, desperate for answers. The clerk, Ruth, who'd known Eli forever, frowned at the HOA's claim. She dug up a rezoning petition from last year, slipped through during a backlog. A clause flagged Eli's farm as residential, not agricultural, Leah VYing it open to HOA control. A loophole, and Miranda was wielding it like a blade. Ruth sighed. Find an exemption in the original deed, or you're stuck. I left with the rezoning papers, dread heavy in my chest. Back home, Eli was fixing a fence. I showed him the documents. He scanned them, folded them, and said, they've been circling since that tennis court went up. He was right. Cedar Grove's expansion had crept closer, its manicured lawns choking our wild fields. That night, trouble escalated. At midnight, the water pump sputtered out. My flashlight revealed a clean cut bolt cutters. Someone had trespassed and sabotaged us. The sheriff took a report but seemed unbothered, muttering about HOA community grants. Eli's stare sent him scurrying. Morning brought a delivery blank, HOA violation notices, with a note, for compliance. Holt. Eli dumped them in the hog pen, where they became lunch. We needed a new plan. Miranda had influence, but we had history. In the attic, searching for deeds, I found a dusty trunk padlocked. I pried it open, revealing maps, letters, and Eli's journal record of the farm's life. Every fence, every harvest, every neighbor helped. A 1960 mayor's note thanked Eli for the clinic's land. Tucked in an envelope was the Cedar Grove Foundational Covenant, 1957, declaring Eli's farm protected from annexation, signed and notarized. Eli climbed the stairs, saw the covenant, and grinned. That's our bullet. I digitized the covenant and journal, then posted them on a local Facebook group, Cedar Grove Memories, with a photo of Eli from '68, holding me by the barn, goats at our feet. I told the farm's story, its role in the town's birth. I expected a few likes. By night, it was VY Row. Comments poured in, Eli plowing roads in '79, donating crops during the recession, pulling a kid from a flooded creek. A 1980 headline read, Farmer Saves Library from Closure. A photo showed Eli building the town hall. A radio station called for an inter-VYEW. Eli grumbled, but agreed after reading the comments. At dawn, on the porch, he spoke calmly, truthfully. The farm was about community, not profit. The host was speechless. By noon, strangers waved in town. A cashier gave me free coffee. Tell Eli thanks for the park bench, she said. I hadn't known he'd funded it. Miranda retaliated, ranting on air about standards and progress. Her dismissive tone backfired. A leaked recording sparked memes and scorn. She called an emergency town hall. Eli wore his old Marine uniform, medals gleaming. The room was packed: farmers, retirees, kids. Miranda's slideshow, The Perils of Rural Relics, showed stock photos of decay. She called Eli's farm a burden and said, he's 84. He needs rest. Eli stood, voice steady. He spoke of the farm's first winter, eating scraps to fund the school, of SAVYing neighbors and floods. He held up the covenant. An elderly woman, Clara, produced a 1957 plat map confirming the farm's protection. The crowd murmured, nodded. Miranda slipped out, defeated. That night, the sheriff apologized, vowing to investigate the sabotage. The tide had shifted. The courtroom smelled of wax and old books. Eli stood in his funeral suit, unyielding. Miranda sat with lawyers, smug. The gallery brimmed with supporters, neighbors, strangers, reporters. The judge, stern and gray, heard the HOA's case, zoning clauses, community needs. I presented our EVY Denke, the covenant, journal, plat map, a 1961 letter from the governor praising Eli's donations. It was undeniable. Eli took the stand, voice like bedrock. He spoke of blizzards, rescues, promises to my mother to keep the land alive. From his pocket, he pulled a 1957 mayor's letter, vowing the farm's protection. The judge nodded. Miranda's testimony unraveled. She admitted suggesting the pump's fix. Our lawyer exposed her pre-written citations. Her confidence cracked. The judge ruled. The covenant held. The HOA's claim was void, their tactics unethical. Applause rose steady, respectful. Miranda fled, heels clacking. Outside, Eli quipped, "Hope they don't fine me for growing potatoes too lumpy." Weeks later, the farm thrived. The story spread papers, TV, a podcast. Miranda resigned, sold her house, and vanished. The HOA apologized, exempting Eli's land forever. Neighbors helped teens, painted the barn. A farmer donated a pump. The town named a trail Mason Way, though Eli shrugged it off. I moved back, Leah VYing the city for roots. We built a kids' garden, opened the farm to veterans. Eli raised a sign, Mason Farm Est. 1957. Never for sale. Cars honked, strangers snapped photos. One evening, on the porch, I asked if he'd ever considered selling. He snorted. "Peace ain't in money, son. It's in standing firm." Stars lit the fields, the barn glowing softly. Legacy wasn't in stonite, was in the dirt, the swings creak, the stories that held fast. As the house settled, I felt it, permanence, deep and alive, rooted against any storm. If you were the one in this story, how would you react? Would you stand up and fight back, or accept the unreasonable pressure and control from the HOA? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this VY Deo with more people. Your small action gives us the motivation to keep bringing you more intense and engaging stories. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next VY Deo.